Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
You're watching 22 News in Focus, and today we're talking about the Massachusetts End-of-Life Options Act with supporters of the legislation. We will also have a separate program with an opposing viewpoint to proposed law. John, let's bring you back in right now. Those who are opposed to the law call this physician-assisted suicide and may impact life insurance policies that prohibit compensation after suicide. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, as I already mentioned, built into our law and all the other laws that have passed anywhere else, Maine, Vermont, Oregon, California, DC, et cetera, they all say the person who died of their underlying illness, cancer or heart disease. They did not just die of suicide if they took and qualified for and they took medical aid in dying. That protects their estate from, life insurance has to pay out rather than they don't pay out if somebody commits suicide. So it's actually defined in the laws. This is not suicide. The person hasn't committed suicide.
And could you explain how, the law is not mandatory should it go into effect?
Oh, that's absolutely true. It's not mandatory. No patient is forced to choose this, and it's actually a felony if anybody forces a patient to a felony charge. If a family member or a lawyer or anybody, is found coercing or forcing a patient to do this, they could go to jail for a long time. So that's all built in the bill also.
All right, thank you. Let's pull Dr. Atkinson back in. So in December of 2017, the Massachusetts Medical Society voted to end its long-standing official opposition to medical aid in dying and adopted a new position of engaged neutrality. What does that mean exactly?
I've been very active with the Massachusetts Medical Society for a couple decades now, and so I was there for both the deliberations. And the last time we deliberated, people were really worried that the newspapers would say doctors are in favor of suicide or some distorted thing. And the House is really pressured to vote against it. And this past time, they actually had people who had knowledge and explained to us what it meant. First of all, this isn't suicide. Most of these patients do not want to die. I mean, most of my patients with cancer do not want to die. They just want to have a say over when they die. So it's very different from suicide, and it's nothing like physician-assisted suicide. This is not Dr. Kevorkian. This is just aiding a patient who's at the end of their life to make that decision. So the Mass Medical Society, we voted unanimously to change it to this non-engagement because we didn't want to get into the details. We just wanted to say if a valid piece of legislation came along that we were not either pro or con, we would look at that piece of legislation. And now that there is such a legislation, I feel strongly that this looks good and would be a terrific asset for our patients.
And a follow-up question for you. Should doctors wait until a patient asks them about ending their life, or should it be part of the conversation when someone's diagnosed as terminally ill?
I don't think when someone's diagnosed as terminally ill, it's a time to talk about that. I think that comes a little bit later. There might be a time that it was appropriate to mention it, but I think most of the time, this is something that a patient initiates.
Dr. BERKOWITZ, I'd like to call you back in, and I want to ask you, how do you explain your position on this issue when you're talking with your colleagues and people in your community?
Well, the important thing is that I always talk from a personal perspective. I began being involved in this because my perspective is that I am the child of two Holocaust surviving parents. And so I'm very, very keenly aware of the slippery slope of that time that led to the loss of that robbed people of their right to life, their dignity, and then they were murdered. So from that perspective, I was at first very against something like this bill initially, but it was only after I witnessed the painful deaths of, first of all, many, many patients and family members. I was present for my parents' deaths, ripe old ages, and neither of them had comfortable deaths. They were in a lot of pain, and I felt quite powerless to do anything about it. And that's how I changed my position when I saw all the safeguards built into this, that we can both prevent suffering in dying and preserve the choice and human dignity at the time of death.
Thank you for sharing that with us. John, I would like to ask you what you're doing to help persuade legislators to pass this bill.
Sure. Myself and supporters in Springfield or Northampton or Boston area, all over the state, we go to legislators. I'll give an example. In Springfield, we went to, well, almost all the legislators, had meetings with them. One in particular I think of is Representative Carlos Gonzalez from Springfield. And he listened to us and he listened to our stories. And then he said, I understand this. I've had some difficult end of life experience in my own family. And he said, I'm prepared to support this bill. And he signed up as a co-sponsor. That was a year and a half ago. And I just want to mention also that there was a very well-known example named Miguel Carrasquillo. He was Puerto Rican, but had worked in Chicago and New York for a long time. He got brain cancer at the young age of 35, went home to be taken care of by his family. He spoke out at the end of his life and said, I wish I had this option. This is very difficult. This is very painful to go this way. He spoke out. It was picked up by the large Spanish language media station Univision, and Jorge Ramos, the anchor newsman, promoted it, and editorialized about it. So it's a very well-known case in the Latino community.
Thank you. And if it doesn't pass, will you continue to fight for the rights of terminally ill patients and why? You and your colleagues that are on the program with us today.
Well, I'll just start by saying we're really encouraged, even though it's a difficult environment. This COVID crisis is real, and we want the legislature to do everything it can to provide medical and economic relief, obviously. But at the same time, people are suffering, as they were before the pandemic came along, from terminal cancer, terminal heart disease, things like that. And sometimes there is really great, sometimes even unbearable suffering. So we want them to relieve this kind of pain and suffering as well as relief from the COVID crisis. And so the bill has actually passed the Public Health Committee. That was the end of May. Now it's in what's called the Healthcare Financing Committee. We hope that they will pass it by the time the legislature adjourns, July 31st. Usually they don't come back into session, but because they've been so delayed because of the last 4 months of the COVID crisis, they might come back again in the fall and finish some business. And we're hoping that they can finish the business. If they don't pass this bill by July 31st entirely, we hope they can come back this fall and make our state the 10th one to pass such a law.
Thank you, John. And we'll have the final words after the break. You're watching 22 News in Focus.